Well, as we announced, today we're doing an interview with Ian and Morag. What we would have loved, of course, was for them to have been in the same building as us when we did that interview. But due to the vagaries of a virus that's affected their whole family, and is seemingly affecting Ian now as well, we've had to do this over a recording. But we didn't want to miss the moment. One of the things that some of you will remember only too well, and for others of you that you may not be aware of, that in April this year, it was 10 years since the Peacocks joined us on our journey as a church together. It was April 2011 when a very young family came and became part of our church. Ian had responded to our advert for a very part-time worship leader, which is what we were looking for in those times. It was just a day a week, 10 hours a week. And then a little later, Morag responded to the next request we had, which was for someone to take on the leadership of the children's and young people's work. And that's what she has continued to do for the last 10 years. Just investing and developing and training children in the way of Jesus. And Ian, of course, well, his role continues with worship leading, though, of course, he hasn't done it for the last month, something that we are logging. But he's continued to do that, developed other worship leaders, developed a whole number of musicians, which has blessed us enormously. And his role has developed, of course, into other fields as well. But what we wanted to do was just to mark the moment, really, and go 10 years is worth celebrating. The reason we didn't do it in April was because we would have had to do this via Zoom. There's a certain irony about that today. But today, it's brilliant just to celebrate that 10-year moment with you both and just to ask you some questions, really, and just allow you to reflect on that with us. So here's my first question. What's kept you going with us over 10 years? In terms of the roles you've played, what's kept you going? I don't know who wants to start.
I mean, other than the wage.
The enormous financial rewards.
Yeah, that's where he came. More like you go.
Having a good group of volunteers around me, totally. A team of people who have the same kind of hopes, aims, goals, dreams, whatever, as I do, and nobody with kind of anything that's too what's the word? That like their expectations are way off. So it's like actually just the people who want to do the same thing as I do, and obviously a leadership team that kind of give you that autonomy to sort of take that and go and do that. It's helpful. So if there was a moment where it was like 17 kids have to get baptized every year before they're 15, then it would probably be not the right fit for me. So just that, a good team of people.
Good. What about you?
I mean, firstly, working as part of a leadership team with yourself and Mary initially, I think one of the things that was just so refreshing was how much we laughed. We laughed a lot. And that was great, like not taking ourselves too, like we take the job seriously and we know that the role is a serious role, but we try not to take ourselves too seriously. And I think there's been times when, when things have been tough and we just sort of have to laugh and that's been that's helped me keep going. I think, been a really supportive team that we're working with, encouragement as well, encouragement from yourself, but also from the congregation. There'll be lots of times you don't do it for plaudits or anything, do you? But it's always really encouraging when somebody comes or messages you and says, that really blessed me today, or really appreciate what you do, and that in the tough times keeps you going, I think. So yeah, definitely those things.
I think it's easy for people to underestimate how one text at the end of a service or when we get home in the afternoon can make all the difference to a day. It's kind of like it's true, that encouragement. What do you think you've learned along the way?
I've learned that you're only as good as your volunteer base. So when it comes to doing this sort of a job, you can have all the ideas and everything in the world, but without the other people who are going to commit their time, to church and to the church children and the community, then it's not going to happen, is it? So yeah, you need them more than you need one person at the top, really, in some ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just that there's more to it than what happens on a Sunday. There's more to church than what happens on a Sunday, and community is key for us all. Without the relationship with each other, you're putting on a really good show, aren't you? So, and no one wants to do that. Well, not in this.
How about you, Ian? Thanks, Morag.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of the similar things to Morag, really, certainly about community. I think I had a much narrower view of what worship was when I came, and what church should be when I came. I think it, and obviously with your teaching around whole life discipleship, that was really transformative for me. As I've said before, every Christian would say, of course, my whole life is worship. But then the way we often communicate about Sundays is that Sundays becomes far too big. That hour and a half on a Sunday becomes bigger than it should be. It's significant, but it's not the be all and end all. If that's the only part of your worship in the week, then there's something drastically wrong. And so I think for me, I had a much narrower view of what worship was. And also great Bible teaching at the church from yourself, particularly, how the Bible is still so relevant to us today and always will be. So that's, and I think also just that, to be honest, they're the main things. Morag said some of the same things that I would have said as well about community and making sure we're not just putting on good services, inverted commas, but we're investing in one another's lives and community,
So as you look ahead, I mean, we're living through a period of lots of change and lots of newness and lots of working out what life looks like now. When you look ahead in your roles with us as a church, what are you hoping for? What are you looking forward to hopefully about?
You?
Oh, thanks. I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of it's proper cheesy in it, but how all of the kids are going to fit, where they're going to go. And I remember for a while we've had so many lads, and in kids' church, and that really excites me to see how are these lads who are turning into young men going to take their place and go forward with that. And looking forward to baptisms on the field at the, we didn't get to see the ones last weekend, but all that sort of stuff. So so looking forward to seeing all them grow basically and be a part of what happens next in terms of Salford Elim, and even just the family. So sort of everything being safe again, and the family fun events, the sort of all age events that we were like, oh, we're going to do this when we had our regroup thinking. We're like, this is how things are going to roll forward, and of course nothing's been able to take sort of steps properly yet. But I'm looking forward to that and just seeing what our kind of our community church calendar looks like, not just on a Sunday morning, but throughout the rest of the for the year.
Brilliant.
And just seeing what we're going to do.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, it's similar as well with obviously the next generation, because the children are the future. But I also have got a real heart for older folks as well. I think that's developed a bit more over the last few years of seeing people at a retirement age or and beyond, and just seeing how much they still have to offer, and how much there's still a role for people no matter what age you have. And so particularly with the work of the Vine, I think that's really key for folks, and I'm hoping that that people will become more confident in what they have to give and still be confident in later life as well. More people come into faith, I mean, that's always a hope, isn't it? That never stops being right up there with the top priorities, and hoping to do more alphas this year than we've ever done, and just hoping that God will draw people to himself and draw people to the course, and so looking forward to that and expanding the reach of the Vine, what we can do, and being a bit more, have the capacity to be a bit more intentional with it not being a business anymore, so I'm looking forward to seeing what God does through that.
Well, as one of those older people, thank you that you've not written us off. I appreciate that. That's good. I know that you're not feeling great today physically. and your family are struggling with COVID, but we will pray for you in the midst of all of that. But how can we pray for you more generally, and in a sense, looking ahead beyond the 10 days that you'll need to isolate for a bit longer?
Obviously, wisdom is always a good one, isn't it? Moving forward, and whilst we have moved buildings, we're obviously still very much in that sort of early days, and certainly with regards to kids' work, because of just little setbacks that we've had along the way. So wisdom as we navigate those things, and the practical issues, whilst they're still important, they get sorted out quickly, but they don't become, they don't overcrowd what we're actually doing or the work that we're doing, and that the volunteers are able to see what we're doing is good, even if it isn't necessarily perfect yet. So just for that, I guess, that we really settle well and can keep adapting as long as we have to. Which sounds like the opposites of each other, doesn't it? Adapting whilst you settle, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
In our adaptations, if we need to.
How about you,
Ian? I suppose, wisdom. There's never a time when you don't need wisdom, is there, about whatever's going on?
That's right. That's wise words.
Thank you, Morag. But wisdom and courage, I think, as well, is sometimes, I can be overwhelmed by the enormity of what there is, or how much there is to do, or how do you reach people, and what can you do for the best? And you can almost be a bit paralyzed by indecision or not knowing what to do. And so just that I'd have the courage really to try some things with the Vine particularly. Try some things, see what happens, see how God uses it. Not get too. Been reading some good stuff recently about being detached from the outcome. Like we have an influence on how things go, but we can't control the outcome of anything. So stop getting anxious about the outcome, or whether it's going to be a success, whether people are going to come, whether people are going to respond. All you can do is offer what you have. So I'm just pray that I'd be able to keep that sort of mentality really, and that sort of attitude, that it doesn't all depend on me. It's all about God and what he will do anyway. So just not be anxious about what we're doing, and just try and enjoy it as well. Just pray that I'll enjoy what we're doing, and and that will rub off on other people as well. I think also just you could pray that I think it feels like a bit of a transition period for me as well, just working out what my role will be going forward. How do I help equip other people, rather than just going, oh, well, I'll just do it. I'll do this. And, which is my tendency has been in the past. So you could pray that I know what it is that God is asking me to do, but that you'll help me, that God will also show me who I need to help equip other people to do.
Your wife's face, as you were speaking that last part, suggests that actually that would be a key thing for us to pray.
I can't imagine why she would do that.
I think that what I want to say is a massive thank you to both of you. 10 years, developing roles, developing people, working within a church context with all the hope, expectation and reality. No mean feat. And I want to say thank you for your faithfulness to us as a congregation, for your friendship and for your kindness. Just that, that deep fruit of the Spirit that I see in both of you, the kindness that you offer so many people. We have much to give thanks to God for in you, and we don't take it for granted. When we next are able to be in the same room at the same time, in public, we'll give you a gift. But until that moment, don't get your hopes up. But until that moment, we just at this point want to say thank you. One of the things that is probably helpful for you as a church to know is that one of the things that Ian's doing as part of that idea of how does he move from just someone who's always doing stuff to actually equipping and enabling others is we asked Ian to engage in theological studies, and he began his studies in September. No, when was it? January.
April.
Yeah, April. Okay, time goes so quick. And so he's begun that, and that will roll forward through to the end of the year when the studies go on longer than that, but at the end of the year, He'll apply to become a minister in training with Elim. We think that's important for him, for us, but also that sort of ongoing development of his own ministry amongst us. So it's enough for me to say thank you. It's enough to say that we will pray for wisdom, for the ability to adapt, for the ability to equip others, that actually your ministry amongst us will continue to be fruitful and develop in ways that we cannot at the moment imagine, in the same way as 10 years ago we never imagined we'd be here today. So bless you both. Recover well, recover quickly, and we look forward to you being with us in the days to come. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Thank
Neil.
you.